Hello everybody and welcome back to a slightly different kind of video here. Today we are going to be talking about the upcoming Ministravaganza 2024 and just kind of going over some of our maybe expectations, predictions, and also just some kind of wish listing of different things that I personally would really like to see here. So I'm going to be kind of dividing this video into two parts. The first half we're going to talk about the actual timeline that they have given us. We're going to talk about the things that they have said they're going to talk about and kind of what we think will be kind of coming out of that. And then the second part will be where I get to more of the wish listing stuff, where I'm going to kind of say, this is the thing I would like to see them do. But I don't want to kind of put those together because I definitely don't want to put the things that I am hopeful for in with the information that has a, somewhat source to it. So we're going to kind of split that up into two sections here. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and just start by going through the calendar here. I will be focusing on the Marvel Crisis Protocol content, just because even though we have played both Legion and Shatterpoint on the channel, they're not really the main focus for most of the discussion style content on the channel, so most of you are probably here for Marvel Crisis Protocol things. So looking at the Thursday, they have a couple hobby room things for Marvel Crisis Protocol on the schedule, but the interesting one here that is going to most likely have reveals and things like that is going to be the War Table Survival of the Fittest. And if we go ahead and we read the description for this, it says alongside the dark future comes Apocalypse himself. And our development team is ready to spill the beans on what they have planned for the experience. So at this point, as we're fairly aware, Apocalypse is coming soon. He was revealed, I want to say, at Adepticon. And yeah, he's something that a lot of people are very excited for. Definitely, it sounds like we're going to be getting some sort of ultimate encounter as well, just from the way that is kind of referred to. What they have planned for the experience sounds like it's more than just a single model, whether that's an ultimate encounter or that's going to be some of those new terrain one-shots or things like that. It'll be really interesting to see what they do there, because we're also seeing that those hobby rooms are the first one and Dark Future, where they're going to be painting up the terrain and the model. So that is also going to be a great chance for people to get a closer look at that model, see what it looks like, see what the terrain looks like, because it did look really good in the reveal that they gave us during, again, I want to say Adepticon, but I can't confirm that 100% at the moment. But yeah, so we're going to be getting a good look at the terrain and at the model in those streams right before and after. So the only thing that I could really see them doing with this 1 hour time slot here, I mean, whether or not it takes a full hour is a different story, but this time slot here is talking about his actual stats and what he's going to be coming with. Now, I do think we're definitely going to see at the very least either an ultimate encounter or a one-shot card with him. So I think a good chunk of that will be talking about the terrain and the one-shot card and then the ultimate encounter, or maybe even both. Would be kind of cool to see that, or even see how a one-shot could play into an ultimate encounter. That could be really interesting. I could see that being a neat direction to take with that, because that's something that kind of would probably break the balance of most of the ultimate encounters so far. But maybe that's something they could factor in with Apocalypse. Would be kind of cool. But there's definitely going to be something there. They're referring to it as an experience. They're focusing a lot on the terrain that's going to be coming with him. That definitely feels like something that needs to have its own thing. As for Apocalypse himself, we are probably going to at least get a first glimpse at his stat card, maybe just like the front side or something like that. Maybe a couple tactics cards that might come with him. I suspect they're probably going to do some stuff kind of like what they did at the last major event. Again, going to say Adepticon, where they had, like one card was face up and the other ones we got to see the art for, sort of thing. And even like the face up ones sometimes were like half blocked and stuff like that. They're definitely going to leave some of the deciphering to us, is how they kind of tended to do things in the past. So I think we're going to get something like that. We're going to get a partial reveal on Apocalypse's stats. Now, there is also a world where maybe they're just going to talk about Apocalypse. They're going to say, oh, he's going to be really cool. He's going to do this, that, and the other thing, but they're not actually going to give us any look at the stat card. There is very much a world where they do that, and it'll be interesting to see how they choose to approach that. But personally, I do think we're likely to see at least the front half of his stat card, maybe not the flip side, but we're almost definitely going to see the front side. And I think they're also going to kind of have to talk about what his affiliation might end up being, because it's very, very realistic that he ends up being his own affiliation, kind of a Dormammu style thing. So it'll be curious to see how they've approached that, how they're going to handle, electing your Horsemen of the Apocalypse. A lot of people in the community have had some really, really cool ideas on how that could be implemented and different ways that could be cool. So I'm very curious to see how they choose to approach it and what they're going to kind of tell us about that while we're waiting for him to actually come out, because it's going to be something that if they do it right, it's going to be really, really cool, and I think they know that. So I hope they put a lot of thought and time into it, because I think it's going to be a really, really cool thing, and I hope it is an experience, getting to see that model on the table, because I know a lot of people are extremely excited for him. And yeah, I can't blame them, because he is a really, really cool character. So that is kind of the big thing we're looking at on Thursday here. That's, Marvel Crisis Protocol wise, that is an entire day dedicated to Apocalypse, which kind of feels fitting. They've also got this kind of, 5 years from the founding five thing, where maybe they'll talk some other things related to kind of the overall state of the game and things that they might be interested in doing going forward. That could be interesting. I'm not going to kind of make any just random predictions there based on that, but I could see them kind of talking about game direction and things they might be interested in doing in the future for all of their games, not just Marvel Crisis Protocol. But that's definitely going to be something worth paying attention to as well. So going into Friday, there's only a couple things here that could be related to Marvel Crisis Protocol. The first one is actually this 5-year retrospective on visual design, where they're going to be talking about the visual history of Atomic Mass games. And this is another one that's very vague and could mean a lot of different things, especially, kind of similar to that 5 years of the Founding Five sort of deal. But I think there's a few interesting things they could do with that. And again, they can kind of talk about what they plan to do going forward, how they might plan to change things up a little bit. So that'll be interesting to see what they talk about there. And probably not so much gameplay related, but maybe some interesting things about some of the ideas behind some of the models they've done, or art for cards and things like that. So definitely a interesting thing to hear and listen to. And I'll definitely be paying attention to what's said there as well. But the one that is going to be specifically Marvel Crisis Protocol related is this war table creating team tactics. So this one's going to be really, really interesting, I think. It says, from mechanics to art, the team tactics cards bring a lot to your Marvel Crisis Protocol experience. This panel will dive into their design and development. So once again, they're using the word experience there, but this time it's all italicized and everything like that. So I think this is just more for the standard play experience, whereas I think with Apocalypse, they're specifically referring to him as an experience in himself. So again, that's kind of where I'm going with that. That's probably either an ultimate encounter or a one-shot card that they're talking about there. Um, but in terms of the creating team tactics thing, I think this one is going to be a little bit more focused on regular gameplay. Team tactics cards obviously are a thing where at this point in the game we have a lot of them, and we're starting to see a lot of them with a fair bit of overlap and some interesting things. There's a lot of discussions about this card being too powerful, that card needing a nerf, this card should be restricted, you name it. So I think this is a very interesting chance for them to kind of address some of those issues and talk about maybe, hey, we're updating our rotated list, we're updating our ban list, we're refreshing the cards. The 2022 card pack, I want to say it was the 2022 one that came out that had that first wave of updated character cards, where we had, our Guardians and a bunch of other characters getting updated for the first time. That also had a bunch of tactics cards in it, and that box kind of defined what was our quote unquote standard rotation for tactics cards, and has defined it until now. I think there might have been one or two changes to that list since then. They've changed some of the restricted things, but that doesn't require any text changes or anything like that. So I think this is a chance for them to kind of talk about doing something like that again. As a lot of you guys know, we are waiting on the physical character cards for those 22 characters that they revealed or updated back in, I want to say, September. So we know at some point they're going to give us a physical card pack for those 22 characters, probably 24 with the newest Spider Foes box having a couple misprints in it as well, that they're most likely going to use that as a chance to correct as well. So we're looking at probably about 24 character cards, but it would be really interesting if they were to do the same thing they did back in 2022 with the tactics cards of basically redefining the standard rotation, use it as a chance to update some cards, rebalance a few things here and there, maybe alleviate some of those community concerns around cards, specifically things like advanced R&D or Eyes on the Prize or some other cards that people have been talking about as potentially problematic. So would be really, really interesting to see how they choose to approach that. But definitely going to be a very interesting discussion there. And they might even just talk about some new ones, some new tactics cards coming with some of the upcoming characters, whether that's Apocalypse or, some of the monster characters we're expecting, or Dracula. There's a few characters that we know very little about right now that are coming as well. I mean, Dracula and the monsters being kind of in that group, but also we still know we're getting Yondu and Nova, so maybe we get to see some things about them. That could be really, really interesting. Lots of interesting things they could do with that discussion. So definitely going to be probably one of the things that I am paying the most attention to at Ministravaganza here. So really, really excited to see what they talk about there. All right, going into Saturday, this is going to be the big one, I think. We have the Marvel Crisis Protocol roadmap right at the start of the day. Going to be a big deal. Learn what we have planned for Marvel Crisis Protocol and see our estimated timeline for when products are coming to your local game store. So, okay, let's talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to try not to get too speculative yet. We're going to save that for the second part of this video. I'm going to talk about this from a more objective standpoint first. But let's talk about things that we know are coming and that they might be able to give us a timeline on. So, first of all, if they haven't already given us one by then, I think we're definitely going to get a date for Apocalypse when during this roadmap. That almost has to happen. They're talking about him so much in day one of Ministravaganza. It feels kind of weird if they don't actually give us an actual date for him during this roadmap. There might have technically already been one, but I think they'll reaffirm it if there is. I think the other thing we just talked about is the character card pack. I think we are overdue on seeing the physical character cards for those 22 characters, possibly 24. So I think we're definitely going to see the date for that pack. If not, I'm going to be a little disappointed, I'll be completely honest. I very much want to get the physical cards for those in my hands. Very tired of using my printed off copies, so would love to see that, and hopefully that's something that they're able to deliver. But yeah, I think those are two things that I'm probably expecting highest on the list. Next, I think we do know some other things are coming, so we're probably going to get a bit more of a timeline on those, maybe some physical models, or maybe even some card reveals for some of those characters, similar to the reveals we got for Shang-Chi and Silver Sable and a bunch of other characters back in, I want to say again, Adepticon. So hopefully we're going to see timelines for, Dracula, the monsters. We're going to see maybe some more information about Nova and Yondu. We know they're coming. We don't know very much about them. I think the last time we didn't even get like model renders. We just had art for them. So hopefully now we at least get model renders, maybe even some cards here and there. Not going to be too hopeful. We also have the leaked Abomination and Wrecking Crew that are supposed to be coming in the somewhat near future. I want to say October. So we could maybe see an official kind of announcement of them during this roadmap as well. And, probably some other things as well that we haven't seen yet. There's probably going to be at least a couple more models getting revealed here that I think could be really interesting and important to put on the roadmap. So definitely, I'm kind of expecting we're going to see in this roadmap everything probably until the end of 2024 or maybe even into early 2025, with maybe not exact dates on some of the later things, but probably dates on everything up to like October or November or something like that. So I think there could be a lot of things that they reveal here, and we'll talk about some of that in kind of the more speculation half of this. But I do think we're at least going to see timelines for most of the stuff we already know is coming, and maybe an official reveal for Abomination and the Wrecking Crew. because we've known that they're coming for a little bit now, but we haven't had any official confirmation from AMG on that side. So that'll be interesting to see. The other interesting thing happening on the Saturday here is just their 5 years of development retrospective. So again, this is going to be very similar, I think, to the first day's 5 years from the founding five, where again, I think it's a good opportunity for them to kind of talk about some of their plans going forward for all of their games. It'll be definitely interesting to see what they talk about there, and maybe even how they'll address, if they choose to address, some of the games that unfortunately will not be making it into 2025, such as X-Wing and Armada. It'll be interesting to see if they mention them at all during Ministravaganza here, but definitely going to be curious to see what they have to say there, and maybe see if there's anything being mentioned about, even stuff like, oh, well, we're thinking about, future editions or stuff like that. Not sure, but that could be something that, at this point, Marvel Crisis Protocol has been around for, what is it, 5 years now? So I could very well see that being something that is discussed. But now we're definitely getting more into the speculation and kind of wish listing list side of this video here. So I'm going to spend a few minutes on that because I don't think there's too much more to discuss in terms of actual revealed things. There is no Sunday or anything like that for the event. So that is the last kind of potentially Marvel Crisis Protocol thing, is going to be at 3 o'clock on the Saturday. And yeah, so going into things that I would like to see, I mean, most of them are going to be coming out of this roadmap, but there are two kind of major things that I want to see out of this mini extravaganza. Um, the first one being more character updates. I've already established that I very much want that 22 character pack to be revealed in physical card form, but I think they should go further with it. I think they should do another, even just like 10 more characters. I think there's a lot of characters that missed the balance pass that would really, really appreciate the buff. I think I've expressed before, I'm a little disappointed with the re-releases of the original core box characters, and the fact that they chose not to update any of those character cards in their release of those boxes. Specifically, even looking at the Spider Foes box, where there was a misprint, so they had a second opportunity to reprint those cards. When they went and corrected Doc Ock and Green Goblin, both of which could probably use a little bit of support. And unfortunately, they didn't touch either of those models in that update. So really, really unfortunate to see that so far those models, it seems like they very much don't want to touch. And that might be partially because of the second core box, just kind of deterring them from updating the old ones because they want you to buy the new ones instead. That could be a thing. I don't love it, but very well could be a reason. I think for the most part, the Avengers side of that box is fine. I think maybe Carol 1 could use a little bit of a buff, especially now that CGR isn't the menace that he was. And so Carol's not really seeing play anymore. So I think seeing Captain Marvel 1 get a buff would be nice for the Avengers side of that box. But I think the side that really needs it, oh, and we're not going to talk about Spider-Man. He definitely needs something. But the side that really needs it is the Cabal side. The original Ultron, the original Red Skull, and the original Crossbones, and the original Doc Ock are all really bad. I mean, some of them have some good things going on, but they could all use some big buffs. I don't think I've seen any of those models in like legitimate competitive play in a long time, and even then, the last time I did was like Doc Ock in a really specific list piloted by an extremely good player. Um, or like the occasional time I've seen him in foes for the card that he brings with Green Goblin, who's also a suboptimal model right now. So I think those models could really appreciate a little bit of love. Just a few small changes on a few of them would probably be enough to make them, at least feel decent to play again and feel like there's a reason to bring them over their newer counterparts once in a while. So would love to see those characters get passed over, but there's also just a bunch of other characters that I think could really appreciate the little bump up. I know X-Men's gotten a lot of love lately, but Gambit is still kind of a sore spot for them, so they would definitely appreciate having him be brought up to a little bit more of a powerful level like the rest of the X-Men have. But I also think there's just a ton of characters for a ton of different affiliations. I mean, some of the first ones I think of are stuff like Sin and Viper. They could definitely use a buff. Some of the Winter Guard models, such as Ursa Major and Darkstar, definitely feel a little bad to be putting on the table, so I'd like to see them get passed over as well. Sentinels in huge need of a few tweaks here and there, so I'd like to see them get some love as well. And that does bring me to another thing that they've talked about doing, and that is they have mentioned Nimrod in the past. They have mentioned that he is being worked on and is if eventually coming to the game. So I think it's very realistic that in the roadmap we actually get a reveal of Nimrod for, you know, either late 2024 or maybe early 2025. I think he's one of the characters that would make a lot of sense. There's also a few characters still on the leaked list from a while ago that we haven't quite seen yet. I believe some characters like Isaiah Bradley's Captain America were there, which would be really, really cool to see. I would love to see that. Um, so there's a few more characters that we kind of have some hints that they're coming soon, and I think it would be really, really interesting to see them actually get revealed here because I'm very excited for a lot of the characters on that list. I think Nimrod would be really, really cool. So I think that'll be a neat one and a great excuse for them to go back and bump up the Sentinels a little bit, make them a little bit better because right now they are astoundingly low in the overall ratings. So they could use a lot of love for sure. But yeah, I just think this is a great chance for them to go back over and touch up a few other characters, reveal some other characters that would help some of these places that are struggling a little bit. I really want to see just I want to see more balance passes. The 22 character update in September was amazing. Love seeing stuff like that, and I acknowledge they can't do that, you know, as often as I might like them to. Unfortunately, that does get hard to keep up with, especially for more casual players, but it is something that I really appreciate when they do stuff like that. So I would love to see that, you know, we're getting this card pack and they don't even have to tell us which ones they're updating now, but they could just say, you know, it's going to have the 22 characters revealed then, plus we're going to throw another 15 characters in, and when that card pack reveals, those buffs will become a thing, right? There's also a few characters that could probably use a nerf. You know, Crimson Dynamo stands out as one of those models that's potentially really problematic right now in the meta. So a lot of people really don't like playing against him, and I could definitely see him getting touched down a little bit. Ultron, and specifically using the Age of Ultron with him, that's another thing that I think could be addressed here. I'm hoping gets addressed here. Maybe that would also be addressed in the tactics talk happening on, again, I want to say that was the Thursday. No, that was the Friday. Um, so I think there's a very real chance they talk about some of those things. Um, on the topic of the tactics talk, I could see them also talking about different ways to approach kind of decreasing the relevance of Beta Ray Bill in the current game because he's kind of everywhere. And one thing that could definitely tone him down would be either, you know, nerfing in some way or rotating out Eyes on the Prize. Without Eyes on the Prize, suddenly Beta Ray Bill becomes still a very solid model at a lot of things, but not nearly as universal. So I think that's definitely something that could be really interesting for them to do. Um, so there's a lot of interesting things they could go with. But yeah, one of the things I'm definitely hoping to see here is some form of balance pass, whether they're doing that through the cards or through the roadmap or however they want to do that. I do want to see another kind of wave of just kind of balance updates. That's probably one of my biggest hopes here that we're going to see out of Ministravaganza, alongside just, you know, some more model reveals and some of the other things that I've been hoping to see for a while. I'm not going to get too speculative here about models that we haven't heard anything about because I don't think there's any kind of justification to just listing off my favorite Marvel characters that aren't in the game yet and being like, yeah, I hope we see them. But I think for the ones that we have heard little bits about, I think it's reasonable to you know, kind of hope that they're going to make an appearance here, because otherwise they might be in some weird design state where they've kind of been backburnered and, you know, we're not actually going to see them for a while. And I hope that's not the case because I know myself and a few others are very, very excited about some of those characters. But I think that is going to do it for this predictions video here. Don't want to go on rambling too much about my personal hopes and thoughts. Want to more talk about the kind of objective schedule and things like that. This video is coming definitely a little bit late, a little closer to Mini Extravaganza than I wanted to. Probably could have made this video like a week ago or something like that, and it would have been fine. But Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to Ministravaganza, and I, of course, will be covering everything that comes out from Ministravaganza on this channel. I'll be either doing it on the same day it's revealed or the next day, just depending what I'm doing at the time of reveal. Unfortunately, the timing on this is not fantastic, as I happen to have an exam during Ministravaganza on Friday, so that's not great. But I will be definitely trying to keep up with it as best as I can and getting videos to you guys for any of you guys that are unable to catch the main event itself. I'll be trying to get videos out just kind of going over everything they reveal for Marvel Crisis Protocol. So definitely stay tuned for that stuff. I'm very, very excited to see what they have in store for us. But let me know what you guys think down below. Did I miss anything you guys think they're going to talk about here? Is there anything you guys are hoping to see that I didn't talk about, that I was expecting to see here? Definitely want to hear what you guys think. What other things I might have missed that they're talking about doing? Very, very curious to hear what you guys think, and maybe we can start kind of just throwing all of our predictions down and see who's right when the weekend of the 20th comes. So I'm very, very excited for this, and I hope you guys are as well. But that is going to do it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're going to be covering all of the Marvel Crisis Protocol related news out of Ministravaganza, as previously mentioned. But we also do tons of other Marvel Crisis Protocol content. We also have battle reports, character spotlights, things like that. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, feel free to jump on in. But that's going to do it for this one. So until next time, everybody, have a great day. Peace.